Tarana Burke, You Are Your Best Thing, Vulnerability, Shame, Resilience, and the Black Experience. In You Are Your Best Thing, Tarana Burke offers a groundbreaking exploration of vulnerability, shame, resilience, and the Black experience. Collaborating with Brené Brown, Burke brings together moving stories of Black individuals dealing with systemic racism and confronting trauma. This book summary highlights key themes, such as the significance of the Black community's struggle, the search for self-worth, mental health, and the importance of emotional vulnerability. Discover inspiring personal narratives that showcase the indomitable spirit of the Black community, in spite of the oppression faced daily.
Black trauma and white supremacy. In response to the protest movements sparked by the killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, Black activists took to the streets to fight against white supremacy. However, Tarana Burke noticed that the conversation was focused on making white people less racist, overlooking the impact of continued racist violence on Black people. To address this issue, Burke collaborated with Brené Brown to create an edited collection of essays about how Black people experience shame, vulnerability, and trauma. The book reveals how harmful internalized shame can be and argues that everyone is worthy of joy and connection, but it fails to acknowledge that Black people often aren't allowed to be emotionally vulnerable in society because of the real threats they face. The personal stories from Black artists, intellectuals, parents, and activists in the book share how they cope with the trauma of systemic racism daily and create fulfilling lives despite it. Brown's participation in the project made her work more relevant and inclusive. She joined the project on the conditions that Burke would be listed as first author, and her share of the profits would go toward supporting Black storytellers. Overall, the book's key message is that Black experiences of shame, vulnerability, and trauma are closely tied to white supremacy. Black parenting in America. The fear and joy experienced by a Black parent in America amidst racism and violence. As Austin Channing Brown looks at her son in the mirror, she sees a miniature version of Trayvon Martin, a teenager murdered for wearing a hooded sweatshirt. Living in a deeply racist country, a Black parent's sense of foreboding joy is different from what Brené Brown describes as an individual affliction that therapy can fix. For Black parents, it is a reflection of the dangers their children experience on a daily basis. However, Channing Brown refuses to give up on joy and instead balances happiness and pain, fear and love, kissing her son on the top of his head and relishing the moment. To be a Black parent in America is to fear for your child's life, and this book highlights the complexities of experiencing foreboding joy amidst racial violence. Breaking free from internalized oppression. Tanya Denise Fields, a survivor of domestic violence, realized that shame caused by internalized oppression was keeping her from living the life she deserved. She understood that she embodied racist beauty standards and stereotypes about Black women, which led her to feel unworthy of respect, love, and joy. But she found the courage to confront her beliefs and trauma, share her experiences on social media, and build a community of fellow survivors who supported her. Fields moved into a shelter for domestic abuse survivors and then into her own apartment, where she created a happy and secure family home. By rejecting shame, she tripled the operating budget for the organization she founded, the Black Feminist Project, and connected with people around the world through her cooking show and public appearances. Her story shows that dismantling the racist systems designed to shame you is essential to finding a sense of self-worth and creating a life full of purpose and joy. The failures of the white medical establishment. In this book, Keys Lehman recounts his experiences with seeking medical help for mental health issues. He describes how his fear of white doctors and hospitals, born out of a lifetime of harmful experiences, has prevented him from seeking help. When he finally went to see a cardiologist, Lehman was dismissed as fine, even though he felt that something was seriously wrong. A quick Google search led him to the realization that he was suffering from a common condition that the doctor had failed to diagnose. At every turn, Lehman encounters a medical establishment that is hostile, racist, and unable to see him as a person in need of help. These experiences reflect the larger systemic failures of the white medical establishment to provide adequate care for Black Americans. Embracing healing and connection. Prentice Hemphill learned to assimilate and conceal their true self during their schooling years, concealing a violent and traumatic background and striving to fit in. However, embracing their identity as queer allowed for healing and accepting their family's intergenerational trauma. Through somatic therapy and joining a community of people who voiced their pain and anger, Hemphill learned to relax their defense mechanism and be seen authentically. Unraveling church betrayal. Tracy Michiel Lewis Giggets narrates her experience of sexual abuse and betrayal within the church community. The author highlights that the older women, who failed to support her during her trauma, were passing on their survival mechanisms, shaped by racist and patriarchal Western beliefs. She emphasizes rethinking the institutional support of the church and making it a place of love, intergenerational healing, and encouragement for women to be their authentic selves. The key message is that church should be a sanctuary instead of a place of shame for Black women. The power of vulnerability. Singing the blues is a way of converting raw feelings and transmuting them into song. It is a powerful method of getting in touch with emotions and connecting with others. Sean Ginwright's work with young people over the last 3 decades has shown that emotional vulnerability is a crucial factor in creating a connection with others. However, this kind of emotional vulnerability requires a safe environment. Ginwright believes that it is his responsibility to provide a safe space for Black youth where they can be emotionally vulnerable and connect with each other. Ginwright's work has also highlighted the fact that vulnerability is a structural condition. Structural vulnerability is caused by gender or skin color. African Americans are structurally vulnerable to poverty, police brutality, and housing discrimination. A lot of African American youth lives in persistent traumatic stress environments that make it hard to express their emotions. Therefore, Ginwright created a summer camp that provides a secure and nurturing environment where youth can be safe, open up, share experiences, and build vital connections through shared vulnerability. The woes of being a Black woman. Tarana Burke's experience with stress and anxiety propelled her to discover that Black women are often taught that their labor matters more than their well-being. Although Burke worked hard to hide her feelings of panic and anxiety, her body began to reveal them through various symptoms. She eventually suffered a mild stroke caused by stress, which led her to the realization that she needs to prioritize her own well-being. Burke's story highlights the struggles that Black women face in prioritizing their mental and emotional health in a society that places so much value on their labor. Transphobia and violence in historic trauma. Laverne Cox, a prominent Hollywood actress, shares her constant fear of violence whenever she is outside in public. Her experience with being beaten up, misgendered, and harassed highlights the violence often faced by trans women and how it is rooted in historic trauma. Cox's family has experienced generations of violence, starting with her great-grandfather being sold back into slavery. The violence perpetrated by Black men towards their families, stemming from their own experiences with white supremacy, is projected onto trans women. Cox recognizes that internalized transphobia and racism are things she still struggles with, but she continues to confront them in herself and talks openly about these issues as a public figure. Acknowledging historic trauma and shame is crucial for the fight for racial and gender justice and ending the cycle of violence. Wholehearted Life. Iko D. Bethia, a Black woman in a racist society, has developed the strategy of shame resilience to live wholeheartedly despite adversity. Shame resilience involves confronting white supremacy, engaging with Black creatives, creating safe spaces for healing such as Sister Circle, and tapping into a higher calling or purpose. This strategy empowers individuals to choose vulnerability and share their stories on their own terms while living wholeheartedly despite the risks of the world.
This book's summary brings us on a profound journey through the lives and experiences of Black people grappling with vulnerability, resilience, and trauma amid systemic racism. The storytelling in You Are Your Best Thing presents a vivid portrait of individuals finding strength, connection, and healing in their quest for self-worth and identity. These powerful stories remind readers to confront historic trauma, unapologetically embrace vulnerability, and fight for racial and gender justice. Ultimately, the book serves as a testament to the triumph of love, courage, and growth over shame and adversity in the Black experience.